Good morning. I'm Mrs. Vijay Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, your physics tutor. Today, I'm going to deal with the chapter Systems of Particles and Rotational Motion. I'll be covering all the formulae and what are the essential things you'll have to remember to crack the NEET exams, the physics part. The weightage for this is approximately, you can say it is 2%. So you can expect one question from this lesson. From this chapter, you can expect one question. So let us quickly go through the how to access this is the PlaySix site, how to access the revision notes, which we have, where we have summarized all the things which you have to learn for the NEET exams, the formulae and everything for all the three subjects, the physics, chemistry and biology. I'll quickly tell you how to get into the PlaySix website. Go to the PlaySix website, click on, this is the home page, click on the practice session. You can select the package, NEET Premium. You have the revision notes here, click on that. You can quickly go through the topics. So whichever topic you're going to select, go through the formulae, which you have summarized everything. So for all the subject wise we have done and chapter wise we have done for all the lessons. So you can quickly go through that and then take the tests. Now today I'm going to cover the chapter Systems of Particles and Rotational Motion. You all know what is center of mass. So our center of mass is equal to m1 r1 plus m2 r2, where r is the distance. So distance of center of mass is given by m1 r1 plus m2 r2 by m1 plus r2, where m1 is the mass of the first object and m2 is mass of the second object. So the distance of center of mass between these two objects is given by m1 r1 plus m2 r2 by m1 plus m2. Velocity of center of mass is given by VCM is equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2 by m1 plus m2, where v1 and v2 are the velocities of the objects m1 and m2 respectively. Acceleration of center of mass is given by ACM is equal to m1 a1 plus m2 a2 by m1 plus m2, where a1 and a2 are the acceleration of the objects m1 and m2 respectively. Torque. Whenever there is rotational motion, torque comes into play. So torque is given by R cross F vector. Remember, this is a cross product. So R cross F vector, which is equal to R of sine theta, where theta is the angle between R and F. Moment of inertia is given by I is equal to m1 r1 squared plus m2 r2 squared plus and so on till mn rn squared, or you can simply add up and write it as I'm sorry, sigma n I equal to 1 mi ri squared. The radius of gyration k is equal to square root of r1 squared plus r2 squared plus and so on till rn squared divided by n. Now there are two theorems which you have to learn here regarding the moment of inertia. Theorem of parallel axis and theorem of perpendicular axis. Theorem of parallel axis, I equals ICM plus MA squared, where A is the distance between the two axes. Here I is now going to be the moment of inertia and ICM is going to be the moment of inertia about the center of mass, and M is the mass of the body and A is the acceleration. So whenever the bodies are now going to be parallel, then their axes are going to be parallel, then you can apply this formula. And coming to the theorem of perpendicular axis, whenever the bodies are going to be perpendicular, then you can apply this formula for moment of inertia to calculate the moment of inertia. I equals Ix plus Iy, where I stands for the moment of inertia of the particle and Ix is going to be along the x-axis, moment of inertia along the x-axis plus moment of inertia along the y-axis. So x and y are the two perpendicular axes. Now coming to the velocity of rolling motion, V is equal to 2 root over 2gh plus k squared by r squared. Velocity of rolling motion V is given by root over 2gh by 1 plus k squared by r squared. And acceleration A is equal to g sine theta divided by 1 plus k squared by r squared. Now, law of conservation of angular momentum, I1 omega 1 is equal to I2 omega 2. Just as how it is applicable, law of conservation of momentum, however it is applicable for linear motion, it is applicable for the angular momentum also, angular rotation also. So then it becomes I1 omega 1 is equal to I2 omega 2. The center of mass of two particles of mass m1 and m2, whose position vectors are r1 and r2, is given by the first one. This is what we saw, m1 r1 vector plus m2 r2 vector divided by m1 plus m2. This is what. These are the important formulae you will have to know. Before that, you can always compare the rotational motion with the linear motion. Say the distance or displacement can be compared to that of the angular or angular displacement, theta. Linear velocity v is given by ds by d theta. Angular velocity omega is given by d theta by dt. Linear acceleration a is given by a is equal to dv by d theta. Angular acceleration is given by d omega by d theta. Mass is m here, whereas we compare that to the moment of inertia here. Linear momentum P is equal to mv. Here we tell it as angular momentum L, which is equal to I omega. Force F is equal to m into A. Here torque is equal to I into alpha. Force is equal to dP by dt. Here torque T is equal to tau is equal to dl by dt. Translational kinetic energy kT is given by half mv squared. Here it is now going to be rotational kinetic energy, which is kr is equal to half I omega squared. Work done is given by W is equal to Fs. Work done here it is given by tau theta. Power is equal to F into V. Here it is tau times omega. So like this, same way you can also compare the equations of translatory motion. Like say V is equal to U plus AT. Here the equations of rotational motion are now going to be omega 2 is equal to omega 1 plus alpha t. Then you say S is equal to ut plus half at squared. Here you say theta is equal to omega 1 t plus half alpha t squared, where omega 1 is the initial velocity, angular velocity. Same way, v squared minus u squared is equal to 2as. Here you say omega 2 squared minus omega squared is equal to 2 alpha theta, where omega 2 is going to be the final velocity and omega 1 is now going to be the initial velocity. So likewise, you can now compare the linear motion with the rotational motion, so that it will be easy for you to understand and apply the questions. It's very similar to the linear motion. So if you understand the linear motion properly, then it is going to be pretty easy for you to calculate the problems related to systems of particles and rotational motion. Now let us quickly go to the tests. How to access the test? You've got plenty of tests, chapter wise, physics, chemistry, biology, for all the chapters, right from class 11 and class 12. From the first chapter to the last chapter, you have the NEET full tests also. You've got 38 full tests. Go to the physics section, click that. You can see the blue bubble, green bubble, yellow bubble, and the red bubble. Blue bubble says that you have not taken the test. You are yet to take the test. Red is the random test which you can take again and again. Green is now going to be the bubble which the test which indicates that green color indicates that you have taken the test already. Even if you have taken the test already, you can take it any number of times. Go to the NEET revision notes, make yourself thorough with the concepts and all the formulae. Then attempt the test. You can go on to the tests. Yellow says it is going to be the incomplete test. You can complete it. Now going to the test. I'm going to take the first test, rotational motion. Take test, click on take test. Go to the test. Now it comes. Right. In a flywheel, if a flywheel makes 120 revolutions per minute, then its angular speed will be what? Let us quickly solve that. Now you know omega is now going to be I told you it is the omega is angular velocity. It is now given by 2n pi, where n stands for the number of rotations. You can also call it as number of rotations. N can, in some books, they also refer it as f, where it is f is the frequency. So here it is given as 2. It says n is 120 revolutions per second. So converted to 120 by 60 pi. That gives you 4 pi. Let's see which option is correct. 4 pi, option C is correct. Click that, go to the next. A wheel has a speed of 1200 revolutions per minute and is made to slow down at the rate of 4 radians per second square. The number of revolutions it makes before coming to rest is how much? Let me clear this. Now we have to read the question, access. What are the details given here? We'll have to think twice. And quickly you can say that you can use the formula omega squared is equal to omega 0 squared minus 2 alpha theta, where omega squared is going to be the final velocity, omega 0 is going to be the initial velocity, alpha is the angular acceleration, and theta is the displacement. So now given omega 0 is equal to 2 pi into 1200 divided by 60, which is, you can keep it as it is. Now we want theta. We need to calculate theta, which is equal to omega 0 squared by 2 alpha, because this is now going to be 0. So we can now calculate omega square is going to be 0. So it is now going to be 2 pi omega 0 squared. Substitute that value. 1200 divided by 60 by 2 times alpha is given as 4, which is nothing but, I'm sorry, this is now going to be the whole square. Yeah. So that would give you 4 pi squared into 400. When you simplify 1200 divided by 60 gives you 220. That the whole square of 20 is going to be 400 divided by 8, or that works out to be. So this implies 2 pi f is equal to 2 pi squared into 100. We need to calculate f. Okay, after this is now going to represent to the rotation number, the omega, right? So now this is now going to be f. From this we can calculate f to be equal to pi into, cancel 1 pi, 2, 2, you get pi times 100. Now if you take pi to be 3.14, now it becomes 314. So let's see which option is correct. Option C is correct. Save that, go to the next. A wheel rotates with a constant acceleration of 2 radians per second squared. If the wheel starts from rest, the number of revolutions it makes in the first 10 seconds will be what? Let's solve that. Now, look into the question properly. Wheel rotates with a constant of acceleration. That means alpha is now going to be 2. So it starts from rest. So it is initial velocity is now going to be 0. and the number of revolutions it makes in 10 seconds. So there, now you can as well use the formula theta is equal to half alpha t squared. This because you are now going to use the formula theta is equal to omega 0, or I can say omega squared is equal to omega 0 squared minus, I'm sorry, you can use the formula theta is equal to omega 0 square, omega 0 t plus half alpha t squared. You make use of this formula. Since initial velocity is 0, this becomes 0. I'm going to use this formula. Theta is equal to half alpha t squared, right? So this is now going to be omega 0 is 0. So we are now going to use the formula. So now it is going to be 2 pi n is equal to half into 2 into 100. N squared is 100, where n stands for number of revolutions. Okay, because yeah, it is now going to be. So from this, I can get that n to be equal to half and half gets cancelled. So 100 by 2, that gives you 50 by pi, which is approximately equal to 16 revolutions. So let's say which option is correct. 16 revolutions. Option B is correct. Go to the next. The wheel of a car is rotating at the rate of 1200 revolutions per minute. On pressing the acceleration for 10 seconds, it starts rotating at 4500 revolutions per minute. The angular acceleration of the wheel is how much? Look, in all these questions, here it is always, the omega is always given as in revolutions per minute. So we need to convert it to omega and then do it. Okay. So let me clear this. Now it is clear. We are going to use the formula omega is equal to omega 0 plus alpha t. Or we need alpha, right? So alpha is equal to omega minus omega 0 divided by t. Look, you can as well compare it with the linear motion, where v is equal to u plus at, where a is equal to v minus u by t. Same thing, you can compare it here. Now v is given as, omega is given as 4500 divided by 60 minus 1200 divided by 60, the whole thing divided by 10. On simplifying, you'll get it as, this is nothing but 75 minus 20 divided by 10. That gives you 55 by 10, which is equal to 5.5 revolutions per second. Let's see which option is correct. Oh, yeah. He's saying angular acceleration of the wheel. So in this case, we'll need to calculate. We have just calculated alpha. We need to put it in degrees. So now, one whole circle is now going to be 360 degrees. So 360 times 5.5, which is now going to be 1980 degrees per second squared. So we need to give it in, this is in revolutions per second squared. So look into the question, what is being asked? Look into the options. You can as well see it is now given in degrees per second squared. So you need to give your answers in that measure. So it is now going to be D option. So save that, go to the next. So each time make sure you are going to be thorough with the concept, like what formula have to be applied, look into the data given, and then finally when you arrive at the answer, look into the units also. So sometimes you might be mistaken, like we did in the previous sum, like we were carried away, like say it was revolutions per second, so we thought that was the answer. No, look into the units, it is given in degrees per second squared. So we need either radians per second squared or degrees per second squared. So we need to convert it to degrees per second squared and then finally click on the answer, right? Now going to the fifth question. A wheel is rotating at 900 rotations per minute about its axis. When the power is cut off, it comes to rest in 1 minute. The angular retardation in radians per second squared is what? It's very much similar to the linear motion problems. So can as well compare it with the linear motion problems and then solve. You can, even if you don't understand, you can compare it that linear equation motions. equations of motions and see the problem related to that. What formula will you apply? Same thing can be applied here. Okay. So here we are going to, it's given that omega is equal to 900 times 2 pi by 60. Now, you know, omega is equal to, alpha is given as 900 and t is given as 2 pi by 60. That's why I substitute that value. So that gives you 30 pi. Right? That gives you 30 pi. Now, alpha is equal to, we can use the formula. A is equal to V minus U by T. So V is now given as, so 300 pi. V in the case is now going to be omega and the initial velocity is 0. Put it as 0 by time is 60. Okay. So that gives you, I'm using the formula alpha is equal to omega minus omega 0 by T. So that works out to be pi by 2. So alpha is equal to pi by 2. Let's see which option is correct. Pi by 2. Option A is correct. Click that. Go to the next. The direction of angular velocity is along the tangent to the circular path, the inwards radius, outward radius, axis of rotation. This is more of a theoretical question. Now, you know, angular velocity is the vector quantity which describes a motion, an object in circular motion. Angular velocity is a vector quantity describing an object in circular motion. Its magnitude is equal to the speed of the particle and the direction is perpendicular to the plane of the circular motion. So obviously you can see it is now going to be the axis of rotation. So the option D is correct. So click that, go to the next question. What is the torque of the force? F vector is equal to minus 3i plus j plus 5k acting at a point whose position vector is r vector is equal to 7i plus 3j plus k. All right, let's solve this. So we saw in the division notes, torque is given by r vector cross f vector. Torque is a vector quantity. So it's a vector cross product of r vector cross f vector. So clearly f vector is given as minus 3i plus j plus 5k. And r vector is given as 7i plus 3j plus k. So now in mathematics, you would have learned about the determinants. So make use of that. So r vector cross f vector. Remember, you have to do r vector cross f vector. It is not f vector because vector multiplication, cross product of vector multiplication is not a commutative. So you should always put it as r cross f only. Remember that. So that is going to be equal to, I can put it as I, j, k. Now substitute the values for r, 7, 3, 1. And this is now going to be minus 3, 1 and 5. Now by the usual methods of determinant expansion, that gives you I vector 3 5s are 15 minus 1 minus j vector times 7 5s are 35 minus of minus plus 3 plus k vector 7 plus 9. That works out to 14i vector minus 38 j vector plus 16 k vector. Let's see which option is correct. So you can see option A is correct. So click that, go to the next. A simple pendulum of length L is pulled aside to make an angle theta with a vertical. What is the magnitude of the torque of the weight of the bob about the point of suspension? Yeah, this is going to be pretty easy. All you need to draw the diagram and see. So let us, this be the, so it is now going to make an angle of theta here. So let us take the bob to be here. That is going to be mg. The weight is now going to be in this direction, mg. So when I complete this triangle, obviously this is now going to be 0 theta because they are alternate interior angles. Now, you know, torque is equal to force into perpendicular distance of the force from the axis of rotation. So you can say torque tau is equal to, force is now going to be mg, and the perpendicular distance is this. This is now going to be the perpendicular distance, that is nothing but L sine theta. So, which is nothing but mgl sine theta. Now look into the options. mgl sine theta. Option A is correct. So, yeah, that gives you mg by 2 sine theta, mgl by 2 sine theta. So, option A is correct. Click that, go to the next. I'm sorry, the 9th question. A force F vector is equal to 3i plus 2j minus 4k acts at a point 1, comma, minus 1, comma, 2. What is the torque about the point 2, comma, minus 1, comma, 3? It is something very similar to the 8th question which we did. Only thing is here 2 points are given. So we need to find out the displacement and then find out the torque. So F is given as 3i plus 2j minus 4k. And let us take this as R1 as 1, comma, minus 1, comma, 2. And R2 is now going to be 2, comma, minus 1, comma, 3. Or in other words, R1 is I minus j plus 2k. And R2 is now going to be 2i minus j plus 3k. So therefore, R vector is now going to be R2 minus R1 vector. So R2 vector minus R1 vector. So that is nothing but 2 minus 1 is now going to be I vector. Minus 1 and minus of minus 1 will become plus 1. So 1 plus 1 becomes 0. So j vector is 0. And 3 minus 2 is k. So plus. So R vector is now going to be simply okay. So R vector is equal to I plus k vector. Now we need to find out, we know R vector, we know F vector. Now we need to find out the torque. So torque tau is equal to R vector cross F vector. So simply substitute same way. I, J, let me rewrite it here. Yeah, I, J, K. Let us substitute the values. So for force it is 1, R is just I and K. So 1, 0, 1. And for force it is now going to be 3 times 2 times 3, 2 and minus 4. Now by the usual method of expansion, you can get it as tau is equal to I into 0 minus 2 minus j into minus 4 minus 3 plus k vector into 2 minus 0, or which gives you minus 2i minus 7j, minus of minus, it's going to be plus 7j plus 2k. So minus 2i plus 7j plus 2k. Let's see which option is correct. Yeah, this option is correct. B is correct. Save that. Go to the next. A wheel has a moment of inertia 5 times 10 to the power of minus 3 kg m squared, and it makes 20 kilowatts per second. Sorry, yeah, the torque needed to stop it is 10 seconds. In 10 seconds is how much? This is easy. Let's solve this. Now you know torque tau is equal to I alpha, which is equal to alpha is nothing but omega 2 omega minus omega 0 by t. Having known all the values, it's just going to be mere substitution. 5 times 10 to the power of minus 3 into 20 into 2 pi divided by 10. So that gives you 2 pi into 10 to the power of minus 2 Newton meter. Yeah. Option A is correct. Save that. Go to the next. Let me see why. Yeah, that's some error, I guess. B, I saved it. Somehow it's not going right. A torque of 30 Newton meter is applied on a 5 kg wheel whose moment of inertia is 2 kg meter squared for 10 seconds. The angle covered by the wheel in 10 seconds will be 1. That's pretty easy. Now you know tau is equal to I alpha, or we need alpha. Alpha is equal to tau by I. Now tau is given as 30 by 2, which is equal to 15 radians per second square. So alpha is given as alpha. We have found out alpha to be 15 radians per second square. So now we need to find out the displacement. So theta is equal, since it starts from rest, omega 0 is now going to be 0. So that gives you theta is equal to half into alpha t square. Having known t and alpha, it is just substitution. Half into alpha is 15 into 10 squared is going to be 100, which is equal to 750 radians. 750, option A is correct. Save that, go to the next. A torque of 20 Newton meter acting on a rigid body produces angular acceleration of 4 radians per second squared. What is the moment of inertia of the rigid body rotating about the fixed axis? So we can make use of the same formula, tau is equal to I alpha. Or we need to calculate I here. So I is equal to tau by alpha. Now we know tau, we know I alpha. So I is equal to 20 divided by 4, which is equal to 5 kilograms meters square. Let's see which option is correct. First option is correct. Save that. Go to the next. 13th. On a uniform rod of length L and mass M, two identical masses M are kept at extreme ends. What is the moment of inertia of the system about an axis passing through its center and perpendicular to its length? See, it's perpendicular. So we are now going to make use of the perpendicular axis theorem. So we can as well remember the formula for perpendicular axis, just simple application of the formula. So we can draw the diagram and see this is now going to be the rod. It is now going to be about the O. This is now going to be about the center of mass, he says. So since it is a rod, moment of inertia about for a rod is now going to be ml squared by 12 plus ml squared about the center of mass, center of axis of center of about the center of mass. So it is now going to be ml squared by 2, which is simply ix plus iy, right? So it's simply add. So ml squared by 12 plus ml squared by 2, which is nothing but ml squared plus 6 ml squared by 12, or I can take L squared as a common factor. I'll get it as m plus 6 m by 12. Let's see which option is correct. I should have marked it as small m. Yeah, this should have been small m. Just a second, children. This should have been small m. By mistake, I put both as. This should be. So 6 m plus m times L squared by 12. So you can see first option is correct. So you can take question number 14. The moment of inertia of a sphere of mass m and radius r about an axis passing through center is 2 by 5 mr squared. The radius of gyration of the sphere about a parallel axis to the sphere is 1. Let's quickly solve that. Draw the diagram and see. This is now going to be the sphere or the tangent. And this is now going to be the axis. Obviously, you can see that this is now going to be the parallel axis theorem, which we need to apply here. Okay. So now it is now going to be I equals ICM, center of mass about moment of inertia about the central mass, by plus md squared. This is for a spherical shell. Remember that. So that gives you 2 by 3 mr squared plus mr squared, which is nothing but 2 by 5. I'm sorry, children. 2 by 5 mr squared. That gives you, let me quickly rub it. It's 2 by 5 mr squared. Okay. So that gives you 2 by 5. That will give you 7 by 5 mr squared. All right. Let's see. 7 by 5 mr squared. So option A is correct. Coming to the 15th question, 3 rings each of mass m and radius r are arranged as shown. Moment of inertia of the system about y dash will be what? So the rings are going to be like this, and like this. So the center of mass is now going to be along. So let this be the axis y dash. Now clearly I is now going to be mr squared by 2. Since there are 2 rings here, you take it as 2 times 3 by 2 mr squared for the 2 rings, right? So it is now going to be 2 times 3 by 2 mr squared, which is nothing but mr squared by 2 plus 2 3s are 6, or I can 6 by 2 mr squared. That gives you 7 mr squared by 2. That was pretty easy. Let's see which option is correct. 7 mr squared by 2. Option B is correct. Save that. Now that we have completed the test, we can end the test here. The results will be loading. Yeah, you can see the results. 1 was incorrect, it says, but the 9th one, some error was there, I think, but the answer is correct. You can as well check which answer. The green one says they are correct answers, and unanswered, we have answered every question. So it is going to be everything in green. Now it says 14th is incorrect. Let us see what is wrong in that. Click on that. The answer says root of 7 by 5 r. So root of, I marked it as 7 by 5 r. So that means it should have been root of 7 by 5 r. Right? I didn't mark that. So the correct answer, well, let us see the explanation for that. You can see. It is now going to be IAB is equal to 7 by 5 mr squared, he says. But I think there was some error. What I did was correct. So it should have been 7 by 5 mr squared was the correct answer, but some technical error, I guess. So likewise, the explanation part is also given. You can as well verify your answer, which is the correct answer. And then if you're wrong, you can go through the concepts again. You can see how many questions are wrong and how many questions are correct. Go through that. You can as well make yourself thorough of the concepts with the NEET syllabus, all the NEET questions and NEET, see, everything, all the concepts and everything is given. You can go through that, and many number of times you can take the tests. So likewise, you can go for all the concepts related to physics, chemistry, or biology, and then make yourself thorough. Sit for, it's going to be a 30-minute test. So when you come down to the cracking the NEET exams, time is very, very important. You have to know the time management. So by taking these tests, you will know how to manage your time also. So this is very, very important. So make yourself thorough with all the concepts given in the NEET papers, NEET question, NEET revision notes, and then go and attend the tests many number of times. And finally, you can take the full length tests where you can score very good marks. So with this, I have completed the systems of rotation. Tomorrow I'll be doing with gravitation. No, not tomorrow. That is on Monday. I'll be doing with covering the chapter gravitation. Yes, guys, you have any question to ask?